Hey everyone, Dr. Scotty Hoary here. Hope you're doing well. It's a nice Sunday, nice cloudy day here in Wilmington, Delaware. It's a good day to stay inside and write and do my music. But I want to share with you a quick little insight about education, and we're going to touch on, as usual, some applied neuroscience and some psychology, namely with the important topic of educating children. And the reason I wanted to shoot this video is not scripted or edited or any of that. I just want to get out the idea quickly here in a rough draft for you as I think about these things. I've come in contact with a little bit of a problem, namely when talking to a lot of parents of my students with regards to what exactly mindfulness is and how it relates to children growing and learning and developing correctly. And I want to talk about very quickly what exactly mindfulness is and how it can enrich a child or a teen in their development, and how that relates to task completion and higher order goals. Okay, so this is very frequently misunderstood. So when people think of the word mindfulness, especially here on the East Coast, there's a lot of associations that aren't quite right. There might be well, first of all, mindfulness can include interoception and putting direct concentration and attention into interoception. And if you don't know what that word means, basically what interoception is your ability to notice sensations inside your body. Including phenomenological things such as thoughts and emotions and memories. But it can also more classically include things like physical sensations, pain, discomfort, feeling energetic, feeling rested, sensory perception, and how that interacts with all the prior mentioned things. So that's basically called interoception. And of course, the other polarity of that is exteroception, which is just as important, it's just different. It involves perception of things that are outside of your body. So it's important to understand those two things, and you frequently hear me talk about a lot of this balance idea, which is all over Ayurvedic practice. It's all over Eastern philosophy. It's all over nature and the natural world. It's not as prominent in Western thinking because Western thinking is, from a philosophical standpoint, typically based in dominance and the ideas of problem and solution, or evil versus good, things like this. But you frequently hear me talk about balance. And if we're talking about a Homo sapien or a human, you hear me frequently talk about healthy rest and healthy activity. That's one of the little sayings I have for my students, is you have to get healthy rest and healthy activity. And of course, we know the nervous system works that way. It needs adequate rest and adequate activity, and there's all my biological rationale for that, which I won't get into now. But anyways, as I was saying, on the East Coast, when people say mindfulness, there's typically a big value placed on interoception. So I've been hearing a lot of parents, especially some of my homeschoolers, encourage this type of interoceptive mindfulness for children. And there's this sort of implicit belief that that might help with emotional regulation, et cetera, et cetera. Now, there's a twist to this that's very easily misunderstood. Yes, you can encourage your child to be interoceptively aware. Like how does your stomach feel right now? Or are you feeling upset? Are you feeling happy? And encouraging your student to develop this interoceptive mindfulness. And I would, yes, call that mindfulness in its best definition. The step that's usually left out is that this has to be balanced with higher order goals and task completion and task assignment. And I don't necessarily mean that in an academic way, although it's probably most functional in an academic setting. I mean that in general. So you have to hold children and teens and students in general expectations and accountability for completing tasks, okay? And that is very different than simply putting all of attention and concentration into something like interoception, or tuning into how you might be feeling emotionally. And again, there's very clear biology for this. So the brain really only functions correctly when it has task requirement and higher order goals, which physically take place in the frontal lobe and the prefrontal cortex, and can understand how to manage a lot of those interoceptive sensations, namely the ones that take place in implicit circuits and the limbic system, like memory, emotion, sensory experience, things like physical pain, these subjective sensations. So you can see very clearly that if a child gets the message to over monitor internal sensation, it almost gets into the area of neuroticism or hypochondriasis. So that needs to be balanced out with higher order goals, task completion, especially healthy tasks, healthy habits. And the last thing I want to tell you today is we have to encourage students and children to enter positively emotional states. And that doesn't just include eating some ice cream or taking a break. And those things are very important, by the way. It can include the empowerment or feeling of satisfaction of meeting a higher order goal or a minor project. Let's say that takes 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days. So we have this delayed gratification response. And again, there's all the neurotransmitter and biological rationale behind all this, which I won't get into right now. But that's a bit counterintuitive, because I think compassionate parents have a little discomfort when they see their child working through something difficult. And the solution there, especially if that something difficult is something important and healthy, or a task that needs to be completed, that involves some sense of responsibility, won't benefit necessarily from always checking in with how your stomach's feeling or how you're feeling emotionally subjectively while you're completing the task. The standard and the expectation and the accountability of completing that particular task still has to be there. And it's up to adults to enforce that task being completed. And I'll also say too that when we start using the word should, unfortunately on the East Coast, I think we have a bit too much of some of this cynicism towards authority, or wokeist or quasi sort of neo-Marxist attitude of cynicism towards authority, or that someone should create shoulds for us. And of course, this is all just baloney. So if you're a good teacher or a good parent, you need to create these shoulds and enforce task completion in addition to teaching your students mindfulness. And of course, the dopamine and serotonin systems develop correctly biologically in the human brain once one observes themselves complete a task successfully, especially if it's an important task, a healthy task, and the caretakers deliver praise to the child for doing so. So obviously you can see that mindfulness is quite complicated in this regard, and it's not simply encouraging children to be interoceptive. So it's a bit of a mouthful. Of course, this is a rough draft. I haven't edited or scripted this. I hope you find this insightful. And continue to teach mindfulness and continue to be good parents and teachers. And that's all I have to say for now. Thanks, folks. Remember to check out all my new highly produced videos, and check out all my stuff on Facebook and my performance and clinic calendar as usual. Bye-bye for now. Happy marching season.